Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to replace the screen on this 2020 M1 MacBook Air model A2337. Alright, so first thing we're going to need is a Pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screwdriver. Okay, and then we're also going to need a T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver, as well as a T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver. Alright. So let's go ahead and get the screwdriver thing that I'll need. We might also need some tweezers, but we'll find out. Okay. Alright, so let's go ahead and get the Pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screwdriver and remove all the screws from the bottom. You want to keep the screws in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that, I put the flat side down like this in the pattern that I remove them. So you see this rectangular pattern, you just put them in that pattern on your desk, okay? Alright. If you have a lot of room, you kind of want to put them on a separate table or somewhere further away, so if you bump your desk, you're not going to accidentally knock them over. You can also use magnets or some sticky tape. Some people use like a double-sided tape and stick it to it. Whatever works for you. Alright, so let's go ahead and finish getting all these screws out. If you're wondering, the back 4 screws are different. So the middle 2 have more threads, but a longer smooth portion, or a shorter smooth portion. And then the corners have a longer smooth portion, but shorter threads. But the screws are actually about the same height. Okay. Alright, I think the rest of the screws are about the same. But again, it's always a good idea to keep them in order just in case. Oh, one other thing, if you haven't already, make sure that your computer is off. This one, the screen is broken. So, okay, I think I turned it on by opening it up. So I'm going to press and hold the power button until I stop feeling the trackpad click. There we go. Okay, so the trackpad, oh, I guess it just restarts itself. Interesting. Okay, so it looks like this one, it doesn't like to turn itself off. Okay, I think it's off, and then it turns itself back on. So I don't know, I guess we can't completely turn it off. Anyways, let's go ahead and open the cover. So we're gonna go around from the back and then go to the sides and then pull up here just like that. Right, we're gonna do the same thing with this one. Go around to the side and then pull it up. All right, you want to carefully remove the cover. So here we go, we got the bottom cover off. This one actually isn't too difficult, and there's actually no fans in here. There is still somehow getting some dust inside, so I'm going to clean that off real quick and I'll be back. Alright, so here's what we got inside. Cleaned out the dust a bit, alright. This is actually my first time taking apart one of these, so I'm going to have to look carefully inside to see. Oh, there's still some dust stuck there. I think it's like tape, so it doesn't come out completely, but you can get out a little bit more. Alright. Cleaning that off. Alright, let's take a look and see what we got here. So you got the trackpad. There's all these screws holding it in place. So you got these two, these two, these two, these two, and then you got this one screw holding the trackpad in place. This design looks to be somewhat annoying, but not too bad. You can actually take this connector out. I think that's using a T3. Let me double check. So we might need to actually also use a T3 screwdriver. Yeah, that's not going to fit. Let's try T4 just to be safe. We're going to check that first. You can actually use a T4. So a T3 might actually be a little too small here. Yeah, T3 is a little bit wobbly. So use whatever you get a good solid fit. You don't want to try and take it out with a loose screwdriver, because then you can damage the computer or the screws and then you won't be able to get them out. Anyways, first thing we're going to have to do is remove the battery connector. So the battery connector is right here. It looks like there's a metal latch holding it in place. Not 100% sure how this is held down. It looks like it's just held down, just clicked in. So I think we just pull it straight up. Let me zoom in and try and show this to you. I don't see a battery reset button or anything in here, or battery drain button in here. So anyways, I see this metal latch here, so we're gonna try and pull this up. Okay, you can see we have this metal latch here now, and it looks like it just presses into place. So I'm gonna use that to pull the battery up. So we're gonna grab that, and yeah. So the battery comes out very nice, or the connector at least. As far as replacing the battery, it looks like it's one of those held in with their double stick adhesive that's super difficult to remove. So anyways, we got the battery disconnected. Next thing we're gonna do to be safe, hopefully Apple doesn't have some kind of weird security on these models. Some of them on the newer stuff, I think they're trying to make things where if it detects you messed with it, it doesn't want to turn on. But anyways, and now that the battery's disconnected, we're gonna press and hold the power button for about 15 seconds. Okay, that will drain any residual power and make it a lot safer to work on. A lot of people ask me if they need to do this. It only takes 15 seconds and could save you several $100s in damage, so might as well just do it. Okay, all right, so now that we've held the power button down 15 seconds and drained the residual power, okay, we're gonna take a look here now and see what else we gotta remove. So there's all these components in here. I'm not going to be messing with them because the only issue they have is their screen. But you can see the speaker are these really long bars here. They connect with these press down connectors. So usually you can just get underneath the connector and pop them up like the older models. The charge ports or USB-C ports are removable. So that's nice. If you break those, you can replace them. Looks like the audio jack is replaceable as well. I think this also has the connectors for the, what do you call, the power button and the fingerprint sensor. I'm not sure what's underneath all this stuff. I don't want to mess with it. I think this might just be the heat sink kind of thing for the CPU. And this looks to be the solid state memory that's soldered to the motherboard. So keep in mind, if you damage your computer and it doesn't turn on, you're not going to be getting your data. Anyways, let's go ahead now and take things apart. So we're going to remove this screw holding down the wireless antennas, as well as the screws holding down the wireless. So this is the antenna wires, and then this whole bar is actually the wireless antenna or antennas. And then you got this connector that's holding down the screen connector. We most likely don't need to take these out, but if the replacement screen doesn't have these metal covers on, we're going to have to remove those as well. And I think that's pretty much it. There aren't any screws here. This just slides over. Okay, so let's go ahead and zoom in and start removing components. Okay, let me get this in a spot so I can get a good screenshot for later. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so let's zoom in. We're going to take out the wireless antenna connectors first. So we're using a, okay, so T4 seems like it might be too big for this. All right, so you don't want to use a T4, you want to use a T3, Torx 3. All right, let me put these in order so I don't get them mixed up. Okay, we got this, and all right, so we got the Torx 3. We're going to remove this screw here. Okay. All right, once you remove that screw, the little metal bracket will come up with it. You do want to keep all this stuff in order again. You don't want to flip it around. There is this part, if you can see. So there's that part that extends out. You want to make sure that faces towards the back to basically divide these two antennas. Okay, you don't want to have it upside down or flipped over the other way. All right, so now that we got that, we're going to disconnect the antenna wires. So you can just use your fingernails to do this or a plastic tool, and you just go up from the tail. So basically, let me actually use the plastic tool so it's easier for you to see what I'm doing. All right, so what you do is you go from the tail here, and then you just pull it up from the tail. So I'm going to use one fingernail to kind of hold it in place, but basically you go up from the tail just like that. Okay, so hopefully you can see what I'm doing. I'm just pushing up from the underneath the tail. All right, as close to the connector as I can get it, and then there we go, it just pops out. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we actually have to remove the LCD or LVDS screen connector first. So let's go ahead and check the T4 first. Okay, nope, that's too tight. So let's go ahead and use the T3 screwdriver. And we're going to remove those screws. I'm going to check the replacement screen to see if I have to remove those little bracket things as well from the other side. So let's go ahead and remove those two screws. Again, you want to keep all these screws in order. So we'll move that metal plate off. Let's see what the replacement screen. So the replacement screen, excuse me, it's like this on the connector. So here you can see on the back, it's missing those metal plates. So we are going to have to transfer those over as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and take these metal plates off as well. So these tiny ones. All right. Again, keep all the screws in order, all the metal plates, everything, so that you don't mix them up. All right. I don't know why the sellers don't just put the metal plates on there. I don't know how many people are going to need a replacement of those metal plates, so I don't know why they take them out. But anyways, let's go ahead and get these metal plates off. All right, there we go, and take that metal plate out. Again, hopefully you press and held the power button for 15 seconds after disconnecting the battery. That's very important. Okay, so here you can see the only cable we're gonna have to disconnect is this one right here. So just get underneath with a plastic pry tool. Again, I just use my fingernails and then I just pop it up like that. And then you're gonna wanna kind of pull it back a little bit, because when we take the wireless antennas out, I believe it goes underneath that cable. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead now and remove the wireless antennas and all these screws for the connector here. I think there's only 2 screws there. So I'm going to zoom out so you can see a bit better what I'm doing. Okay, and I think we're going to have to use the larger screwdriver, but let's see, T4. Yeah, I think it's going to be a T5. Okay, so those are T5 or Torx 5 screws. That's also T5. I can't see here. Yep, that's also T5. So we're going to use T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver now, and we're going to remove the 6 screws going across this bar. So there's 2 holding this silver part down, 2 holding this black part down, and then 2 more holding this silver part down. Again, keep all the screws in order. The screws going through here are pretty long, so keep that in mind. We're probably going to have matching ones on the other side. Let's go ahead and remove these screws as well. These ones are small black screws and they're kind of thick at the top, so it's not like a flat screw. If you want to see, looks like that. Okay. All right, and then we got 2 more screws over here off to this side. And yeah, those screws look to be about the same as the other side, but again, it's always a good idea to keep them in order and put the same screw back where you got it. You know, it's not a good idea to mix them up. All right, so there we go. Okay, so now let's see, we should be able to just pull this antenna board out. It might be a little bit tricky. There's no, usually I like to use the air vents to pull that out, but on this one, there aren't any air vents, so let's see how we're gonna do this. So I'm kind of pulling with my fingernail here, and we're trying to get that up, but it looks to be like that's gonna be very difficult. Okay, we can actually pull this centerpiece a little bit, but I don't know. Okay, I think the easiest way is there's kind of a little raised bit here, so I'm gonna try and pull up from there using my fingernail. You can use plastic pry tools or whatever you want, but let's see if we can lift it out from there. No, that's actually very difficult. So I'm not sure how we're gonna get this out. I can lift this side up a little and then get underneath. There's a kind of piece of plastic extending there. Let's see if we can get underneath there. Okay, we can kind of get underneath there. I don't know if we can lift it up from there, but let's try. So I'm kind of rocking this as I kind of lift from here. Okay, Hopefully you can see. Wow, this thing is tough to remove. Okay, so I don't know, this wireless antenna is really tough to lift. Oh, there we go. Okay, it's coming up. I see. There, the adhesive from the keyboard cover's a little bit stuck to it. It shouldn't be, but it is. Okay, here you can see the screen cable is coming up. All right, it's pretty dusty under there. And this part of the cable, actually, it folds up like this. I don't know if you can see. So it folds like this, and it goes underneath this plastic piece here. That's why we have to take this antenna board out. Okay, so we're going to keep trying to pull this antenna board up. Again, I don't know why it's stuck on there so hard. There's like the adhesive from the keyboard thing stuck to it a little. But there you can see, we got that up. At least half of it. We're going to have to keep working our way over. Make sure this cable doesn't get damaged while you're lifting it up. Okay, there we go, it's coming out. All right, let's go ahead and work on the other side since we got this side out already. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm pulling this back towards myself so that way we get a gap under here, and then I can actually lift it from this piece here and kind of wobble this like this while I'm kind of pulling it up. It seems like there's an adhesive holding it, so slowly, carefully keep pulling it up. Sorry, my hand's getting in the way. There we go. All right, so you can see the antenna board is kind of loose now. Again, make sure this cable isn't going to get caught. And then we're going to slowly lift that. There we go. So here's what it looks like. It is a little dusty, so I'm going to clean that off. Just get a toothbrush and kind of just brush the dust off. Okay, it kind of sticks to it, so it is what it is. Normally, you don't get this side stuck down with adhesive or anything. It's usually, as you can see here, these silver parts here. So those have like little dimples on it that grab onto the metal bar below here. There's a little metal strip that sticks up there, and that's usually what holds that down. So anyways, we're going to set this aside, and then let's go ahead now and remove the screen. Okay, so for this part, you're going to see my messy desk, but anyways, let's go ahead and zoom out so you can see the edge of the desk. Okay, let's get this stuff out of the way. Okay, now what you're going to want to do, you want to open up the screen to about 90 degrees. If you want, you can actually open it up all the way completely till it stops, so you can open it up like this. So right now I have it opened all the way. All right, we're going to use a T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver, and we're going to remove the 6 screws. So there's 3 screws on this side, 3 screws on this side. Okay, so you want to just remove those. We are going to use some thread locker to put these screws back so that way they don't come loose. Sometimes when the hinge screws come loose, it can cause damage. With the Macs, they have a much more sturdy, solid piece of aluminum, so it's not as much of a risk, but it's always a good idea to do it anyways. That way there's less chance of damage in the future. Okay, some people will use like fingernail polish or something. You can do that as well, but it's best to use the proper thread locker stuff. Thread locker kind of has a little give to it, so it's not like fingernail polish where it can suddenly just crack and then become loose. So that's why they use that. All right, anyways, now that we got the screws out, you're gonna let the screen drop to about 90 degrees flat, and then you can kind of wiggle it, lift it. You might have to move it around, and then we can get the screen out just like that. So here's the old screen, and this is how they have the connections. It also got all dusty under there. All right, so now we're gonna get the replacement one, and we're gonna do the same thing. Just get that in, and then you can roll that back. Okay, so the replacement screen we have right here. You do want to open up the hinges all the way. If you can't do this by hand, you can take the T8 or Torx 8 screwdriver, just get it in the screw hole, and then you can use that to leverage to rotate it. All right, anyways, let's go ahead and roll the hinge back. Okay, and then you're going to want to hold the connector, so make sure to lift the connector up, And then we're gonna carefully drop this into place. Okay, just like that. You might have to wiggle it a little. There we go. Okay, so next thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna put one screw on each side, the ones closest to the center of the computer or the MacBook. All right, so we're gonna get those two screws on the outside in, and the reason I'm only just putting two in right now and not even tightening them down all the way, kind of want them a little loose. All right, not too loose that it wobbles around a bunch, but loose enough that it can move. The reason I'm doing that is because we're gonna slowly, carefully close this screen. Okay, you want to do this carefully and slowly. You don't want to do this while the thing is, there we go. You don't want to do this while the screws are tight, because if something's not aligned right and you close it, it can actually damage the screen. Okay, so there we go. We got everything in place. Make sure everything is lined up. Okay. Let's zoom out a tiny bit more. Uh-oh, somebody's here. Okay, now that we got all of this lined up, you can go ahead and tighten these screws. This is just going to be temporary so we can get the thread locker going. Okay, now that we got those two screws in, we're going to add the thread locker to the other screws. Let's zoom in so you can get a better view. Okay. Okay, so I like to use the red thread locker. Okay, so we have this stuff, right? And we're gonna put very little. You don't want a lot. For the MacBooks, it's not as big of a deal because the whole thing is aluminum, but on other computers, because the outside is plastic, if you put too much, you can destroy your computer. So we're just gonna get a little bit on there. Okay, hopefully you can see that. Just a little, not even a full drop. And then we're gonna just get the screw into there, tighten that into place, and we're gonna do that with all 6 screws. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the thread locker on there. If you notice, there's already some of the blue thread locker there from the factory, so that's normal. Actually, let me loosen up the screws a little bit and then make sure I did line it up right, because I think I over tightened this when I was trying to align it, because it didn't really move much. There, okay, now it's actually moving right. Okay. Okay. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. All right, let's go ahead and tighten this back down. Okay, so we had the thread locker on these two, so let's go ahead and get those in place. And then we're going to take this one back out and get some more thread locker on there. Okay. Perfect. All right, let's go ahead and get the other two over here. Right. And last one. All right, let's get the last screw. There we go. Tighten that up. All right, so I'll put that away. Now we're gonna flip this back over, and let's go ahead and get the wireless antennas back into place. So we're gonna get this and get it to go through here. Okay, you want it to go through that, and then you want to make sure this stays behind there. Okay, get it all lined up. everything should line up nicely, just like that. And then you can go ahead and push the center piece down. All right. And then what you want to do is you want to kind of like pull up on it, and you'll see that the center actually locks itself into place. That's how you know you got it in right. Then you can go ahead and push the sides in. All right, this thing holds itself into place nicely, so even the sides actually hold in really well. Now we're going to switch back to the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver again and put back all those screws. So I'm mixing them up again. Okay, so let's go ahead and get the T5 or Torx 5 screwdriver, and we'll put back the 6 screws that were holding the wireless antenna in place. Okay. All right, good. All right, so we're gonna put the 2 outside screws in first, just to hold the antennas down. Go, last one. All right, there we go. We got all those screws in. Let's go ahead now and get the 2 middle ones in here as well. Okay, so we're gonna fold this backwards like that. Get that lined up into place. Get the screw in. And to make sure that this is all centered, I'm just loosely fitting the screw. I didn't tighten it in all the way. Let's actually zoom in here a bit. Okay, and then we're gonna get this one as well. Okay, now that we got both screws in, you wanna hold this kind of down, and then you can go ahead and tighten that into place. And tighten that into place. Go, because there's a little dust there. Let me clean that up. Make sure there's no dust in the connector as well. Okay, so we got all of that. Let's go ahead now and get the LCD connector, LVDS connector into place. So let's zoom in, and then you just want to line it up. It helps to kind of look from the side. Okay, get it lined up and then push that into place. Then, okay, so it should hold itself down if you got it right. And then you can see if you try and pry it lightly, it stays into place. That's good. All right, next thing we're gonna do, we're gonna put back those other pieces. So I think we were using the T3 screwdriver, the Torx 3. Okay, so let's go ahead and switch back to the T3 or Torx 3 screwdriver, and we're gonna put back these metal brackets here. All right, so we're gonna get this one. Again, we're gonna loosely fit the screw, the first screw, just to get everything lined up right. Okay, so you can't, it's hard to see this at this angle, but let's see here. Okay, I'm gonna loosely fit that. Get the second screw. Oops, sorry. And we're gonna get that into place. All right, just like that. Make sure it's down nice and tight. Okay, so we got that one in. We're gonna go over to the screen connector as well now. There's a little dust stuck on there, so let's clean that. Okay, get this lined up. Same thing, we're gonna loosely fit this screw first. Alright, second screw. That lined up. Hold that in place and tighten it down. Right, tighten the other one down. Okay, other metal plate here. Let's move over here. Oops, right there. Okay, get that metal plate on there. It doesn't matter which screw you do first, whichever one's easiest. Okay, just get it lined up. Then loosely fit that. All right, last screw, so this one, line it up. And loosely fit that screw. There we go. All right. That's good. All right, next thing, we're gonna get the wireless antennas in. Make sure that they're completely lined up. You don't want to try and push these down if they're not. It looks like I have to kind of push the antennas that way to get it lined up right. Okay, the way you know it's lined up, if you try and move it around while it's in the right place, it stays. Then just push it down. Okay, all right. Click that into place, good. All right, now we're gonna get this metal plate and put that back on top. Again, you want this piece facing that way. Okay, get that lined up. It's a little bit tough to do because it's so small. There we go. All right, get that screw in, make sure it's lined up, make sure it's straight, and go ahead and tighten that into place. Perfect. All right, now all that's left is to reconnect the battery. Pretty simple. Just get it lined up and push it down. Oop, it's not lining up. Something's not lining up right here. Let me see here. Yep. Okay, so just get this lined up. And then push that down. Why isn't it going in? Huh. Is there a trick to this thing? Oh, I see. Okay, if you notice on here, there's these L-shaped parts at the bottom. So we have to actually get the bottom part slightly further up and then slide it under, as you can see. All right, so it actually hooks into place. So like this, hook that bottom, and then you can swing it over, just like that. Then we can put the latch over the top. All right, latch that down, it clicks into place. Make sure that it clicked, where, here, make sure it clicked beyond that piece there, and we should be good to go. All right, let's zoom out again. So now what we're gonna do, we're gonna put the bottom cover on. We're not gonna turn it on though, okay? So let me get, here we go. We'll put the bottom cover back on. Okay, and then we're gonna flip it over. We're most likely going to have to plug it in to turn it on. I don't think it's gonna turn on. Yeah, so let's go ahead and plug it in now. Okay, and it should power up. You should be able to feel the trackpad click. Right now it's not on, so let's push the power button. Uh-oh. I think Apple did put some kind of weird security thing, because right now it's not doing anything. So let's try a Command Option Shift and the power button on this, or sorry, Control Option Shift and the power button to do a SMC reset. Nothing. Interesting. So it doesn't want to power up at all. And then you can't do a PRAM reset while it's off, so that's not going to work. Let's try plugging in over here. Nothing. Let's try holding the power button for 15 seconds. If this doesn't work, I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with this and see if I can figure out why it doesn't want to turn on. If I find out the reason, I'll be back and I'll let you know. Yeah, it doesn't want to turn on, so let's close this, reopen it. Still nothing. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can figure out why it doesn't want to turn on, and then I'll be back if I figure it out. All right, I'll see you guys in, later. All right, so I figured it out. I got it to boot. So basically what it was is, oh, I need to shut this down real quick first. Let me shut that down. Okay. So basically what it was is I have one of the older charger from the bigger MacBooks, from the 2016 to 2018, 2019 MacBooks. So I plugged in now the smaller, I had a smaller MacBook Air charger. Luckily I had one of these. I plugged that in and then now it works. So right now it's off. I'm turning it on. Here you go. And you can see it's working. So that's pretty much all it was. It looked like just needed to have the correct charger. So most likely if you're working on your MacBook, you're not going to have the other charger to plug in. You're going to have the one that came with your Mac. So you probably won't have any issues with that. Anyways, all we got to do now is put back the Pentalobe 1.2 or P5 screws and we're pretty much done. So let's go ahead and do that. Hopefully this video helped you guys. If it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. If it helped you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Other than that, thanks for watching. You're welcome to stay as I put back the rest of the screws. But that's pretty much it. Alright. So let's go ahead and get all these screws in. And other than that, we're pretty much done. Alright, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye. Let's drop this.